Greetings, I hope that you guys are doing fantastic. This video has literally been converted from Hindi to English because so many of you said this was really helpful, but you couldn't get a couple of points because you don't understand Hindi. I thought this would be a good experiment as well. Also, I knew that this is a tremendous piece of content, even for non-logic users. So first we'll listen to the song, then I'll do the breakdown. Caution, it could be funny if you keep staring at the lip sync, but rest assured the info is in complete sync because I took the pain to rescript, or you can say for the first time I've scripted something. In some ways this is even better than the original impromptu Hindi version of it. So if you listen to what I say, you will be able to get every information that you are here for. Be aware that nobody gives this kind of a video for free, and we'll do the rest of the chat after the tutorial.
तेरी निगाहों के, तेरी ही राहों के करीब से गई जिंदगी, तुझे क्यों देखा ना, तुझे क्यों जाना ना, शिकायतें करूं या नहीं, थमी है ये सांसें, भरी है ये आँखें, सहूं कैसे अब ये फासला, बिन तेरे बिन तेरे बिन तेरे, कोई खलिश है हवाओं में बिन तेरे, हाँ बिन तेरे बिन तेरे बिन तेरे, कोई खलिश है हवाओं में बिन तेरे.
So I hope that you have liked the song. Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. So let's go to the computer screen, and here you can see that we do have a couple of tracks. I have stacked these vocals inside a group, one track for the piano, and I have used 2 tracks for the pads so that we can achieve some variation in this section. Then I have used a bass line. To make an amazing cover song, you need to take into consideration the key of the project and the tempo of the track on which you are particularly going to sound amazing. For this song, I have chosen A major scale. So after deciding the scale and taking into consideration how your voice sounds in this particular scale and the particular BPM that you have chosen, then we start thinking of what kind of instruments are we going to put into this track. So for people who can play guitar, guitar could be their primary choice, and for people like me, keyboard is an obvious choice. I have selected this Yamaha Grand Piano. So the scale is A. And with this, let's play a simple 2-bar loop. Let's turn on the click and see how it comes. So we just played 2 bars, and I have put this to auto quantize mode. We are doing the production in Logic Pro X, but all the steps would be equally valid for other DAWs as well. But some of the options you will find in other DAWs in different places. Like I have selected auto quantize, and to do this in Logic Pro X, we simply have to click anywhere in a blank space, and then in the inspector set it to your desired quantized value. And of course you can change it later even after recording. Supposedly if you think that it doesn't work at 1/16 or 1/8 or somewhere some other value you want to put, you can surely change that. So the next thing to take care. So this is a simple architecture which is in the A major progression, and the chords are
A, E, F sharp minor, D, E, and then there can be various ways of playing it.
And you're going to choose something according to the feel of the song that you are trying to do. You can simply put the chords, or you can play arpeggios as well. And you know, like there are various ways people would play piano normally.
तेरी निगाहों के,
so you can surely play something like this. Or if we have wanted, we could have played something like this as well. Like mostly keeping in mind the chord structure, the chord base.
Bum 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 bum, like 3 4 1 2 3 4. You can do whatever you like.
Whatever you like. And this is solely your creative choice, right? And even the instruments that you choose, quite possible that you want to choose some different instrument. Maybe you want to choose guitar. And of course, for someone like me, you can definitely program guitars as well. Fake guitars.
It also sounds good, you know, like if you put in this progression in here.
So this would sound good as well. Once you've figured out the instrument that you are choosing, maybe you would like to choose guitar or piano or maybe both, then you choose to do chords with piano and arpeggiate the guitar on top of it. And maybe you think there is a soothing tone in the background, something like pads or strings, some kind of instrument that you might prefer to choose to give that body and vibe. So you can listen to the pads that we are using here.
See.
And in the next section, the pad sounds something like this.
Yes, a sound karta.
And after that, you can of course create a bass line, which will make the track sound a bit more fuller. In this song, I have taken a Logic's instrument to do the same.
Simple.
Often people ask me, how would you create a bass line? And you can follow a simple formula for that. So whatever chord you have at a particular place, you can just try to play the root and the fifth in a pattern, and sometimes while transitioning from one chord to another, you can touch a couple of other notes like the fourths and the thirds. And even if you just choose to stick with the root and fifths, you should be good to go. Just add some rhythmic vibe while you are playing those notes.
Yeah.
We could have done something else like this as well.
Simply 2 3 4 1 2 तेरी निगाहों के तेरी आहों के करीब से गई करीब से गई जिंदगी.
So simply here I have just played the root notes of the corresponding chords. It would have worked completely, and this is as well a creative choice of yours. Another thing that I prefer is wherever my bass needs to enter, I will just bow in a couple of notes and enter the section. So to have a feel that we are finally entering.
Right, you hear this thing. Like that.
Usually we prefer that we will dub all the scratch vocals and then program the entire music around that. But that I didn't do this time for this small project. Just imagining what I'm gonna sing at different segments, I started programming the music first. And then I dubbed the final vocals.
Finally, ek hi bari mein gaaya.
So you can see that these two tracks, I made two instead of one, because if you look at the auto tuner, they are at different settings, opening and closing different notes as per required. Now if we talk about how to use the tuner, the formula is whatever is your scale, you select the scale here. Then whatever is the root note, like in this case, this is an A major song, so you select A. And after that, if there are some extra notes other than the scale in the track, you also open that or them. For instance, the song is in A major, but at some point the tune touched G or F note. So we would have opened that as well. And sometimes it doesn't work properly if so many notes are open in one tuner. Then we use a different track and open the other notes there. For example, this track is in pure A major. In the track below, there is a different note of F. There we have opened the F note, and that specific segment we chopped from the reverb and brought here. And the retune speed of the tuner, it will decide how hard and how fast will be the impact. So if this is light here,
तेरी निगाहों के तेरी ही राहों के.
And if we want to give it some robotic T-paint type texture, then we can make it fast for sure.
तेरी निगाहों के, तेरी ही राहों के.
Depending on
What you are looking to achieve. This is also a creative choice most of the times. Usually, I don't like to hard tune. But sometimes, if at places I want to make some vocal effect and I feel the wiggle would sound stylistic, I might use it. And I record the vocals in takes, as you can see here. There are a bunch of takes and I make complete parts comping them. If I have multiple options, so that I can chop parts here and there, and take best parts and compile them together, removing the bad expression and wrong notes. So doing permutation and combination to pull off the best of the option that I have. Once I'm done with the vocal comping, after that there might be some off-pitch notes remaining. To remove these small issues and fix them, I will turn on flex pitch. This will analyze things automatically and it will show me all the notes. If we take a look at these notes, we have got an option here to change how the notes transition, how they flow from start to end. We can determine this using the pitch drift. Here we can change the end pitch drift as well. We can take care of the vibrato to be more or less here. Sometimes you naturally sing too much vibrato in some notes. Maybe you don't need that much. You can reduce that. Also possible that you need to add a bit more vibrato at some point. You can do it here as well. You might be looking to play with the drifting and all at this place as well. Taking care of how much drift is needed in the first and end respectively to balance out. Then we have this fine tune control. Basically, this is how you retune. And if this specific note has more volume or maybe less, you can adjust it here. And the form and shift. Format is an interesting element. Let's discuss about it. Basically, your voice texture depends on the format. Supposing you have shifted the pitch to an extent and the format didn't shift, so it would sound someone else's voice or may sound a bit robotic. Then you can choose to shift the format up or down. See, if we bring the format down here,
see,
I have a different voice now. So this is someone else's voice now. See? Absolutely someone else, not my voice, for sure. You can see the indication of where is the format now. Let's put it to 0. It was fine as it was. Now we have destroyed it. So we'll unsave the project. Another thing that we see here is timing. Sometimes if there are some timing issues with some notes, we can take care of that as well. We can just break these things apart and shift them to a perfect timing. There is a saying in the industry that bad pitched guy is far more acceptable than the bad timing one. But sometimes there can be some flaws. Some shuffle feel might remain as well. You might have thought while singing to drift the note timing a bit, and while mixing you feel that doesn't sound quite right. So you can fix that thing here. That much post-production power this tool surely gives us. Some people also prefer to use Melodyne to do this kind of correction tasks. Of course, Melodyne has got its own place, but the kind of workflow I have in that, this tool is my perfect companion. As there had been some note transferring and other things to be taken care of, and I didn't quite like that hassle, but this workflow simply works for me. In some softwares, you might not have this kind of built-in feature, for example, Ableton, then you have to use Melodyne. But other DAWs like Cubase has got Vari Audio. Even Sonar used to come with something like what they called the V-Track. I think Pro Tools still doesn't have, and Studio One comes integrated with Melodyne too. So there are plenty of choices, and whatever DAW you are using, you deal accordingly. Sometimes people ask which DAW is best DAW. So in this era, all the DAWs are actually equally amazing. And just the point remains, what is currently accessible to you and in your current OS platform. If you are on Mac, Logic becomes an obvious choice because of its cost effectiveness and efficiency. Makes even more sense for me because maximum people in my circle are using this DAW, which makes project sharing and life easier. Another thing to take into consideration is what is your musical goal and style. Once we have taken care of the tuning and other housekeeping tasks, let's take a look at the vocal chain that we have here. So first, I will put a compressor. This is a CLA3A compressor and it has got its own texture which I like as well. You can also use Logic's native compressor instead. It has got a lots of emulation options as well. First one is digital, very clean and accurate. Some have their different algorithms which give different flavors. I like the tone of CLA, that's why I use it. It is very simple to set up as well. I keep the gain knob where it usually is, and then just by looking at the peak reduction meter, I will adjust the knob. I don't like too much harsh sounding compression. I feel -1 to 5 dB of gain reduction on the meter sounds good for sure. So in this case, setting the knob to 6 does the job. It may vary for you depending on the amplitude of your recorded signal. So if we talk about gain, sometimes people keep the preamp gain quite low, considering they can hear all kinds of background noise. But see, finally when you mix, master and add a whole lot of gain in the post, the situation actually becomes worst. And the noise flow increases quite a bit compared to the signal. You just need to take into account that the wave you see while recording is thick enough and just a bit cautious to avoid any kind of unrecoverable digital distortion. So it is better to record at an optimal gain than find out the reason for the noise and take care of it. It can be electrical noise, lack of earthing, noise from poor wires, noise from outside world. You can take different measures to tackle them differently. Like maybe choosing a recording time while the surroundings are quieter. But always make sure to record with appropriate gain, any vocals or any instrument for that matter. Once we are done with the first pass of our compression, after that I will de-ess my vocals. De-esser is also a kind of compressor, which helps you compress specific frequencies or frequency ranges that you choose so that we can target the high frequency S, pss, these types of irritating sounds. Logic has got its own de-esser as well. Waves have their different types of de-essers. There are many other companies making incredible quality de-essers as well. I prefer the R de-esser because we have been using it from several years. We know it in and out and it just works for the kind of work we do. It is very simple to use and it sounds great. Most of the times I will use the presets for male and female vocals in the plugins and they work without any further tweaking. And after applying the de-esser, if we feel something can be improved, we can play with the frequency and audition it in the sidechain mode. Now it sounds like this. Now if you put it in the sidechain mode, then you can hear the problematic frequencies. Then you can set it to the desired problematic frequency to remove it. After that, you can choose the range and what range do I want to compress, and this threshold you can set to whatever decibels you want the plugin to start working from. Once done with de-essing, we'll do the second pass of compression. Because I don't like to do harsh compression in one pass, so I will use 2 compressors. In this case, actually there are 3 compressors because de-esser is also a kind of compressor, but deals with specific frequencies. This Kramer Pi compressor has also got its own texture, which I like. Let's select a preset to start with, the lead vocal preset. Let's turn off this analog noise button because I don't feel that I need this extra noise. Then looking at the meters, we can adjust the threshold. This kind of light compression we are getting in this case, that is enough for me. So no need to change, else what we would have adjusted would be the threshold. This is also compressing in 3:1 ratio. The CLA3A, 3A means this is also a 3:1 ratio compressor. There is another 2A version which does 2:1 compression. It depends what you want to achieve. If you want to achieve long tails, 2A might be a better choice. But most of the times, for me, CLA3A gets the job done. After doing this, let's do some EQ. I usually like to use the stock EQ. I actually do use many stock plugins. Because before Logic, I was on Cubase almost 6-7 years back. Cubase 5 lacked many amazing plugins at that time. That is why we had to use many waves and FEF filter plugins to shape the sound. So I'm used to them. but Logic's stock plugins are amazing. I think the new version of Cubase has got incredible plugins these days. Its channel strip is also very amazing. But still, what someone has, they have got to work around that. Here I have enhanced a bit of midtones, enhanced a bit of highs, trimmed a bit of lows, and put a low cut at 100 Hz, which usually has rumbles only, and we don't want that. Also, many people cut that in mic as well, or in the mixing console while recording. I prefer to record raw signal, as raw as possible, as undisturbed as possible, and after that treat it inside the software, because even if you mess up here, you have the option to undo. But if you mess up in the hardware processing chain while recording, you won't have the option to undo that later on. So after EQing, it sounds like this. Now the thing is, it sounds good, but the sound is very clean and digital. So let's tweak it a bit. I use this Saturn plugin. Most of the times I use another Waves plugin instead. That is this Exciter. I use it on many instruments. For vocals, I would select the vocal preset. If you push the EQ too much, the high enhancement doesn't sound musical or pleasing to the ears. But this sounds more musical and warm. We can feel the highs, it cuts through the mix but doesn't pierce the ears. These vocals already had more highs, so I didn't need to boost the highs, but this digital sound I wanted to tackle a bit. So I selected the model here, old tape, and the drive to 10%. Without this, so that digital hiss gets a bit controlled and we get more of an analog kind of vibe. Sounds much more musical to my ears. This is also a creative choice, as well as what tools you have in your arsenal. You will have to decide according to that. After this, we have compressed the piano instrument a bit as well. After that, using this plugin, we did a bit of tone shaping of the piano. Most of the times we achieve this by doing EQ, but this is not a dense mix, so we don't need to push and pull too much because we don't have so many instruments here. I just needed to do a bit of specific tone shaping. That is why I choose to use this plugin. Listen without this. We get a bit of edge. I hope you get my point. After that, we have the pads. Simply did a bit of compression and EQ on it. Use Logic's default compressor, 3:1 ratio. It shows 291, but same thing. Then looking at the meters, adjusted the threshold, keeping in mind the peak reduction. Once that has been taken care of, we did EQ it a bit. Removed a bit of muffle, enhance some mids so that it gives bit more support and glue with the piano, supports the vocals and doesn't make too much of an extra noise as well. This kind of essence is what I was looking for. Your pads might sound a bit different, you might have had used different instrument, so you have to adjust the EQ according to that. We deal with the other pad in the similar way. The EQ looks a bit different. And then there is this bass guitar. Compressed it a bit, used vintage VCA model at 5:1 ratio, then have EQ'd it a bit. Sometimes we use some harmonic distortion or even some bass amp to shape the tone. When we have a busy instrumental arrangement with so many drum sounds, synths, percussion and other things going on, and you want the bass to cut through the mix, when you have put so much efforts playing the bass line, and that is a crucial part of your track, so you want to listen to it very clearly in the mix in that context. But here we didn't need that, so all of this sounds something like this together. कुछ ऐसा sound करता है. After taking care of the mixing and balancing job, we take a look at the mastering process. The mastering process in it need not be very complicated. We just want to achieve a certain loudness value using any combination of plugins. So whatever platform we send this mix to, it sounds proper. Doesn't sound low in volume or even doesn't sound blasted and distorted. We just need to keep this much in mind. And so many people are going to listen to the song in different devices like phone speakers, headphones, big speakers, in the car stereo, etc. It should sound good everywhere. Should sound optimal according to the system. So here, my tool of choice for this project is ozone. We put the ozone on master bus. After that, we have two ways. we can take help of the mastering assistant, which will look into how much loudness is there and what frequencies are there in the song and will give us a preset doing some magic AI stuff. It actually takes care of the things automatically. Other than that, there are pre-installed presets that you can use as well. Sometimes we use this general clarity preset and you can listen to the before and after just by doing this only.
Right.
So much difference, and you see how much it is compressing the signal. Let's change some settings here. Let's put this to modern, change the character to 2. You can see it is not compressing the signal at all currently. Maybe we add a bit more loudness in the early stage, or we can boost the gain from here as well. It can work out as well. This is a bit too much EQ for my taste. Let's reset it and we'll figure it out later. I think the overall balance was already good. Once you have chosen one of the ways from many to master your track, you set the master output ceiling to -0.3. Most of the times you will be good to go just putting the maximizer or limiter, whatever you want to call it. Let me close this session and I will show you the actual mastering chain for the particular track. So we have done a couple of things here. Did a bit of EQ. The dynamic EQ takes care of some extra frequency bumps. Then this exciter does a bit of tone shaping, makes it sound a bit richer. Use this imager to widen the spectrum a bit. After that, the first maximizer. You can see the settings and then the second maximizer with ceiling at -0.3.
जब इसका loudness standard
So after doing this task so that we have a loudness in the broadcast range, you can turn on the cycle marker for the export timeline range. Then you export the mix. In Logic Pro X, we call it bounce. Key command would be Command plus B. Maybe you want to make a video afterwards. Then you might want to export both the formats, via WAV as well as the MP3. These default options work pretty well. So once your audio has been done, it is up to you that what kind of a video that you want to make. You will choose the medium best suited for your audience that you think would like to listen to your song. And if I show you the re-edited timeline of this video, this is like bizarre thing going on, and it took me quite a long time to compile this video, as I remember almost 4 times more than the original video that I did. But I think that this experience was worth it, and I hope that this video was worth for you as well. So this has been quite a long video. I hope that you have got an overall idea of what does it take to make a good sounding track in a simple way. If you enjoyed this video and you are already not subscribed, please consider subscribing, because there are so many amazing videos on this channel and I intend to make more to help you out. Also, the videos that you like, please share them. That way you will be helping me a bit as well. Your presence on this channel is quite crucial for me as a creator, as it keeps me motivated. You have something going on your mind? Feel free to write them in the comment section below. Also, I do live streams every Saturday and Sunday, 10 PM onwards, Indian Standard Time. And I try to answer all your questions. Last but not the least, thanks for being a part of this mission to be a better musician every day and believing in it. And I hope to see you in the next video. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद और नमस्कार.